So Tara, so this is, I know we've done a little bit of prep work here in terms of some of the questions that we'll go through. And as part of our boardroom group, we have a third day at the intensives where we share these 10-minute talks. And Tara, and it's something in your business that everyone can benefit from. And Tara was voxing me beforehand, and she was like, I don't really know. It seems like everything in my business is boring, or it's kind of, other people are already doing it. And something along the lines of, you made a comment like, we've just been consistent, and, we've kind of just done the work, and it's worked. And I think, and that was her 10-minute talk. It's like, just tell the entire group of what you experienced over the last 5 or 6 years, and, what some of the stumbling blocks were, the pitfalls were, and what worked well, and where you doubled down on hiring. And so that ended up being her 10-minute talk, and I thought it was awesome. And so we're going to go through some of that. I have the slides that you actually presented to Boardroom, so we can go through that. I think that'll be a good start for us. And to put it on everyone else is that get into chat, and Stacy and I will look at the questions. And the thing I love about Tara Limbird is that she is probably one of the most humble people I know, in terms of, if she doesn't know something, she's going to ask a question. If she's good at something, she's going to share. She's very giving. She comes from abundance. And I think that's the lesson here, is that you don't really need to be an expert at everything to build an amazing business. This year, Tara, she has the strongest profit margins of our boardroom members. And so I review Tara's financials every month, and she always wants more, which is hard charger. She's like, this month wasn't like, 37% profit. I'm like, well, the last month was 42. So, give yourself a break if it was, so she's super hard charger, and just comes at the business with a ton of grace and humility, and super pumped to have you share your story today. Tara, do you think it would be helpful just to kind of pull up those slides and kind of go through that as a starting point, and then kind of let people go from there?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, let me find where I just put that thing. I just started a slideshow, and now I think it disappeared. I messed it up. Hold on. Oh, it's on a different. All right, I'm going to do it not in a slideshow. I'm going to do it. Oh, here we go. All right. So so just kind of give us your story, and this will kind of keep it on track. And I think the blessing for everyone on this call, having you share, is, it's kind of like the rule that we follow as business coaches, is like, it is probably even more valuable to give people an idea of some pain that they'll suffer at a given stage. Mm-hmm. So kind of take us through this and unpack your journey. And everyone that's listening, come up with questions, put them in the chat. Let's make this interactive. We've got an amazing opportunity here, so let's not squander it. So with that introduction, Tara Limbird, you have the stage.
Oh boy, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, well, I think kind of like Lars mentioned, when we did this boardroom talk back at whenever it was, Colorado Springs, in October, so I called it the unsexiest way to grow your business, because there's really, and that's why I told Lars, I really don't know what to talk about, because there's no really cool bells and whistles with what we do. We just have kind of grown it over time. But I got my real estate license in 2004 and was an individual agent till 2010. And I decided to start a team. I had no idea what that really even meant, but I just knew I had a lot of listings, and when people would call on my listing and that didn't work for them, I would just say, well, okay, thank you, and click and hang up. So I knew there was a lot of missed opportunity. So in 2010, when the market was terrible and everybody was jumping out of the business, we decided to start a team. So it was me and my husband and one other agent that we recruited, and had a part-time assistant. So this really just kind of shows you our sort of organizational chart in a real elementary style, but to kind of show you how our numbers grew. So in 2010 and 11, and also put what my production numbers were, because I was still producing on the team, is we had 3 agents on our team, and one as part, I think kind of a part-time, and I ended up being a full-time somewhere in 2011 assistant. But our team, we did 70 deals in 2010, 88 in 2011, and then you can see my numbers, 41 and 45, so I was half of that, and shows our GCI. The next year, we added one more agent in 2012, and we basically our one assistant did everything. So then we went to a part-time assistant who just helped a little bit on listings, and our production numbers jumped from 88 to 148, so almost double then. And then in 2013, and my production numbers kind of stayed the same through there. We hired one more agent, but and this time instead of a part-time assistant, we had 2 full-time assistants, one handling all of our closing stuff and one handling the majority of our listing stuff, and went to a little over 200 deals in 2013. So then the next year, 2014, is we increased about 8 agents on the team, and we really started getting a little heavier at that point in our admin side.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
And I didn't think of it when we went through it at the boardroom session, but and it may be nothing to it. The way you put the agents, when you thought through this in your brain,
Mm-hmm.
the way you put the staff supporting the agents visually,
Right.
is that a mindset thing, or it just worked well for this? Like, did you always build it to have, like, instead of like, everything is driving sales?
Right.
So, was that always a mindset that you had?
I would like to say yes, because that sounds smarter. So we'll go with that. But yeah, but I think a little bit. I think my goal was, we all know individual agents wear a gazillion hats. So I think my thing with starting a team was, how does everybody do what they do best? Kind of what we've been talking about recently, kind of more your niche or your unique ability. And we all know with agents, that are good in sales, they're good with people, they're not good at the admin side. So to me, I guess the admin is sort of the foundation for the agents to go do what they do. In fact, one of the admins on our team that's been with us for about 5 years, she used to always laugh and say, she used to kick us out of the office. She said, if I'm seeing you, that means you're not selling houses. Get out of here. Of course, now it's different. Now we want everybody in here calling, but at a point in time, it was like, get out. So I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah.
But,
so it's interesting though. So from 41, 45, 47, 48, 47, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years of your production in the 40 to 48 range. And you went to 316 sides.
Right.
Your production on purpose, became like around about 13, 14% of the total pie over time. And you had 316 transactions, and really 2 full-time staff, really, a runner, an assistant, a virtual assistant, and a part-time op. So really 2 hard-charging admin running 300 transactions. So just relative scale for everyone, because we have a lot of teams where, like, they're at 40 transactions and they're hiring their second admin. I'm like, your first one's wrong. Like,
yeah.
Your first one needs to get you to 150, so. Right.
Yeah, no, definitely. And, that's, I guess, part of hiring the right people. But how we even, of course, a lot of this stuff is, common sense. I feel like these days everybody knows about hiring a courier or a runner. But at that point in time, 2014, it was just 3 years ago, but we didn't know of any teams that had runners. Of course, we were in Arkansas. We don't get out much. But we basically took our top producing agent, and each year when we met and did goals, she would always say, oh, there's just no way I could do more than I did this year. So for a week, she hated me, but for a week, I would have her write down everything she did all day long, and basically kind of like what we do for ourselves a lot of times, but you should do this with all members of your team, have them write down everything they do all day long. And then at a certain point, when you know what they're best at, the things that they're doing that are not what they're gifted at, how do you get more of that off their plate? So with her, a lot of her schedule was dropping off earnest money checks and picking up signs and lot boxes. So I said, well, what if we had somebody doing all that for you? And it was just part-time, you know. It was a girl in high school. Wasn't anything real fancy, but, you know, some days she'd have 3 hours of work to do and some days it'd be nothing. But it allowed, now that agent this year will do about 105 transactions on our team. And another agent on our team will do almost 100. So just those two agents together are doing about 40% of our team's business. So, but anyway, yeah, so and then we hired a virtual assistant with my outdesk in the Philippines to do a lot of the data entry stuff. And then the operations manager, I didn't even know what that was. And I didn't even know we needed it. But I met somebody that I knew from, we used to live in the same neighborhood together. And she was looking for part-time work. And I knew she was like mega anal organized. Just like, I knew our team could use some of that. So, and she knew nothing about real estate, but I just said, well, once you just come work for us, I don't really even know what you're going to do, but I felt like she could add value. And then now, of course, it's not with her now, but it's developed to a full-time position. That's helped me, as you'll start seeing my transaction numbers personally start going down after 2014. So it went from 47, and also my quality of life sucked during all this time too, because that was you know, a lot of transactions for me, plus trying to run the business and then having a kid. I mean, there's just, you know, I didn't enjoy life a whole lot during those time periods. So in 2015, we made the move from Remax to our own company, which really wasn't much of a shift. I thought it would be, but realized we were sort of already running our own company. We just didn't know it. So I was kind of forced to, when you own your own business, like officially own your own building and everything, you have to kind of become the CEO, whether you want to or not, or hire somebody, I guess. But we recruited a couple more agents. I was still in production. This was 2015 is when we hired our first ISA. And then because when we left Remax, we pretty much doubled our staff. So we've always been almost 2 staff members to every 1 agent. But we have a higher, our average team member that's been with us for a year or more does about 50 deals a year or more has been their average. But we're also a little weird where our agents do both buyers and sellers. So I know that's unconventional. But at that point, we went to 2 closing coordinators and a listing and marketing coordinator, still had the part-time runner. Then we hired a receptionist since we had our own building, a full-time operations manager. And then the auditor was basically, now since I'm the principal broker, I didn't want to have to spend all my time well, I still sign the contracts, but I don't want to have to dig through every file and make sure it's buttoned up. So she does that, so that helps me a lot. And then we hired a part-time bookkeeper who came in a couple days a week. And now our books are great because before it was always doing our books once a year, where now everything's monthly, and it's just, you know, it's such a better grip on what's happening or not happening, and I have more time to adjust it than messing with it once a year. So. And then in 2016, our production went up a little bit, but mine went down again from 2 years ago from 47, I think, to 38 to now 30. We hired a few more agents on our team. And then the highlighted in green are the new things. We added a property management division, a listing assistant, and then the closing coordinators. We basically had someone now assisting them with getting documents sent out, organizing the files, that sort of thing. So.
Awesome. What was it so you went, so 502, 2.9. It looks like your average commission check went up. Was there anything?
Right. So probably about 2016. I think it was probably maybe Andy Mulholland who changed our way of thinking with this. We don't do it on the buyer side, but on the listing side, we took kind of the mindset that when a seller's paying us the commission, they're leaving it in our hands to get their house sold. And so it was so you start thinking about what you offer a buyer's agent is just marketing. You're marketing to a buyer's agent to bring in offers. So because the market's good, we're like, well, why are we spending more money marketing to agents? So we reduce that. So now our average listing that's not a builder, we do some builder business, is around 3.5% on the listing side. So that's helped, even with our production numbers staying the same and hiring more people, it's helped our GCI go up.
Awesome.
And then this year, we're probably going to end up doing about the same amount of transactions as we did last year. But our GCI, I think we'll hit our GCI. But the biggest improvement, as you can see, my production was projected at 12. I think I'll end up doing 8. So I'm a slacker. I didn't hit my, but it's actually, my goal is to not hit my goals, you know. So next year, I think I have 5 or 6, because I feel like just by accident, I'll accidentally sell something that I didn't mean to do. Mm-hmm. But more and more, I mean, that's keeping me. We're creating a lot of accountability charts where I'm trying to figure out where do I need to be spending my time, and I'm trying to get out of everybody else's boxes, because when I get in there, all I do is jack them all up anyway. So they're, and in fact, people know now. Our team sort of knows what we're doing, and when I'm doing stuff, they'll even be like, "Are you in your box?" And I'm like, "No, sorry." So I'll leave now. They don't invite me to meetings. Sometimes I just see people meeting. I come in like, "Oh, great, here she is." You know, they trying to run stuff without me, which is good. But anyway, so we have more agents on our team this year. A lot of newer agents that are really good. So I'm excited to see what they'll do next year, because I'm sure we've all sort of figured out the agents you hire today really don't affect the current year you're in. It's really more about how do you get them going strong the following year. So that'll make a big difference from where we were.
And that's got to be, so the difference between 10, 13, and 17, you know, it's, in order for you to grow in 2019, the next 6 months have to be heavy with recruiting and onboarding.
Right.
You know, when you get up in numbers, you know, to just will growth because you want it is not a real thing anymore.
Right.
You know, when you're at 50, to go to 100, you can actually do with a couple people, and then you can go to 200 with a few more, and then it gets harder. So now your goal is 1,000 is the next hurdle. Right. And to do that is like every quarter. And that's what I tell everybody in Real Estate B School. Every quarter, you've got to have a goal of bringing new talent, a class of new agents in every quarter.
Right.
And so that's
because even we put them through the ringer, but even doing that, I mean, still, if you hire 5, you're lucky if 3 end up really panning out. And sometimes even just for stuff you can't control. And we've had people with their divorce or something, and they had to go get what I call a real job, where you get a paycheck every 2 weeks, or insurance, or whatever the case may be. So you always, and so then you have to replace their production plus add on to it. So yeah, definitely having a focus on recruiting each quarter is big.
Awesome. And then I forget what this one was.
Yeah, I don't remember. Maybe it was just in a different format.
Oh, that's right.
Just a show.
So just to show Tara, and knowing what you know now, would you have started because I pushed you this, you know, pretty heavily, like, you know, why are you still in production sort of thing. Would you have gotten out of production earlier?
Yes. I mean, it's all worked itself out, but it's kind of, I mean, my husband's still in production and he's heavy in it, and that kind of gives us our separation of what I do and what he does. But even with him, like I'm trying to get him to hire like an agent who's basically like a partner with him, that he can pay a salary or anything to just, and he's like, well, I don't think I'd have enough for him to do. I'm like, you'll always think of enough for them to do, you know? And I said, well, just think what, you know, he works a lot of builders and developments. So I'm like, you should be spending your time out prospecting and finding new business, but he doesn't have time with stuff he's doing. So, yeah, I mean, I think you always feel like, well, the expense and, oh, will there be enough for them to do? But just even someone teaming up, even if you're teeing up the transaction sort of, or the client, and then they roll with it as a kind of a way to get started, and then let them go. So yeah. These were just my tips. I can't remember what they were.
Anything in here that you want to go through?
Let's see here. Well, I mean, I'm sure even though you preach against it, we're all guilty of chasing squirrels. So like my squirrel rules, it has to be out for a year, and let other, because there's always kinks in the systems and let other people go through that pain instead of us. You know, in 2010, I mean, to some degree that feels like eternity ago, and other ways it feels like just yesterday. I think everybody wants everything to happen immediately, but you know, give it time. So it just
I like that. Building a real estate business is like losing weight. There are no real shortcuts. You have to do the work, and it takes time. It's so easy to put on weight, and not easy at all.
It sucks.
It's really good.
So, oh, and then that was one of the first things that someone told me, said, your business doubled tomorrow. Could your team handle it? So, I mean, obviously you need to make sure you have the funds to hire people. But we always trying to be a little early in the game with that, just because to me, the staff is not just there for customers, but that's part of the appeal of being on our team is for the agents. So if they're doing a bad job, you know, you're going to lose not just customers, but agents over it too. So, and then I think, you know, I think you even mentioned that, you know, I mean, I've never worked at Keller Williams, but Gary Keller said, you know, figure out what you do well and stick to it. I think we're all always trying to change and mimic everybody else. And I think, I mean, we have to do that to some degree, but at the same time, kind of like us with having agents that work both buyers and sellers, is that works for very few people, but it's worked for us. And we've tried to change it because we thought, well, we can't do it like this. Nobody else does it like this. And it screwed everything up. So we just finally realized some things work for us. We're going to stick with it.
Awesome. You've got number 5. That's
good.
And
definitely invest in coaching. I mean, you remember you paid me to put that one on there. No, I was kidding.
That's right. That's right. Think a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So know what you're good at, what you're not. We're kind of at a point now too with our agents that are doing 100+ transactions. We're almost sort of building many teams within the team. So they're taking on we're an assistant where we're paying part of the salary and they're paying part of the commission. But for one, it's training them to be one of those top producing agents. And for one, it's just more of a quality of life issue for that agent as well. So it's working out. And of course, having fun, you know, life's too short to be miserable. And hiring a bookkeeper, like I said, it's just so much of a stress reliever not to, every year I was collecting receipts and it's just, oh my gosh, it sucks so bad. So it's just, if you just do it monthly, it's a lot more manageable.
Yeah, awesome. And I want to bring up one point. It's this initial, so many of the people listening are in this phase here, getting from, you know, really busy, a couple people, maybe an admin, to 150 to 200 sides. That's the big push here. And then really to get to 2014 numbers, it's a few good agent hires.
Yes.
The thing that I want everyone to realize is that it's only a couple admin to do a couple hundred sides. You know, it's not as much infrastructure, because Tara made the comment, we always want to be ahead of the growth in terms of admin to support people into their unique abilities. And at the same time, you know, be ready for the growth, but obviously not overspend and make sure you're making money. That doesn't mean if you're doing 50 sides, you should have 3 admin.
Right.
You know, you can get to 100 sides with 1 admin and an agent or 2. All right. I want to open it up to 100% questions. So I know Stacey, I'll let you run the questions, but this is a golden opportunity for everyone to just ask questions. I know we'll have questions about those early days, so that'll sort of bring you back to the days of, as you say, being in the hellhole of real estate. So why don't you run the questions?
Okay, Tara, what did you pay your assistant when you started out?
All right, so my first assistant, I think, was part-time. It was like $9 an hour. I mean, it was just strictly just to do some clerical work. And it actually got me more organized because I was in such a tightwad. I couldn't stand the thought of spending money and then not her. I just imagine her sitting there twiddling her thumbs. So every night I would think about all the things I'd plan out my day, all the things I was going to be doing, all the things I needed help with. And I would give her a list, which also kept me more focused and organized. And anyway, so then it just kind of progressed from there. But I think when she went full-time, I'm trying to remember what she probably started at. I mean, probably like 26,000 a year or something. I mean, it wasn't a
Yeah.
huge expense. There wasn't, didn't have any real estate experience or anything like that. But it was just someone that just good at admin and is organized and is not. My check now with people is like I hired a lady not too long ago, and every time she looked at the computer, she'd get about this far away from it, like just the closer she. And I'm like, she has terrible computer skills. I'm like, the closer someone has to get to, like I've learned, that's just a no. Don't go.
So I think part of the gold of what you said in there was the fact that you planned your day out to make sure that she was busy, because that is part of it. I think some people think, okay, the admin's going to come in and get me organized, but they're not giving any direction.
Right.
So in that key time when you were looking for someone to help you, you led the pack on what that person needed to do.
Right. And then after a while, I got smart and realized that instead of reinventing the wheel every day, that's when I went to Top Producer and I created a plan of what I like to have happen when something goes under contract, when I get a new listing. And that way they knew, and then it made me feel better that they knew what to do every time. And everybody was getting the same checklist and same experience.
Perfect. What do you think your biggest driver was going from 88 sales to the 148 sales in that second year of your team? So do you remember what drove that business?
Oh, man. Gosh, I think with us, it was just staying focused. And like I said, I mean, that was, our top producing agent is just, do this with your team and do this with yourself, is writing down what you do every day and figuring out how do you get rid of some of that stuff. Or sometimes you just realize that there's just some kinks in your system that need worked out it's really about creating more time. Because we all have the same amount you don't necessarily need more things or any more flash. It's just about creating more time. So that's what really helped us is just figuring out how we can maneuver things around so we could take on more of the business. Because one of our goals too is because as we hire new agents, the first thing that started happening is our oldest agent said, well, how's this going to affect me? Am I not going to get leads anymore? And I never wanted anyone to feel like adding people to the team was going to take away from what they had, but make everybody's business better by seeing more signs and more just being out there in their name and that sort of thing. So
very cool. Let's see. Why did you start a property management division at the time that you did?
Well, basically, when we were at RE/MAX, they had a property management division, and it had always sort of been on the radar because if we had a listing that didn't sell, we would refer it to the property management department at RE/MAX. And then like a year later, we would drive by and they'd have one of their signs in the yard for sale. And they're like, oh, sorry, they just decided they wanted to work with us now. And anyway, so it's sort of on the radar. And then when we opened up our own company, we knew we had a couple guys working for us that had started off heavy in property management. And we didn't want to refer that business outside of our team because of that bad past experiences. We wanted to make sure if we couldn't help them with what they needed right now, that we retained their business.
Cool. Let's see. In the year that you went, I don't think you went from 100 to 300. You went like 150 to something.
Yeah. 148, and then 202, then 3 something.
Okay. So it might be the year you went from 2 to 3. Again, I think a lot of people are asking the same questions. Like, in particular, when in each phase that you were growing, like what lead gen did you add? What things did you add to increase that business? Because you increased agents, but was there anything specific like lead gen, prospecting, anything like that? Can you kind of outline that? Because we probably have like 4 questions like that.
Okay. I think maybe when we were doing like 200 something, we mainly were using realtor.com. And I think it seems like each market's a little bit different, but that's always been one of our better lead sources. So that seemed to help a lot. A lot of it was accountability, which is kind of funny because right now I feel like our last couple of years we've plateaued as far as transactions, even though our GCI has gone up and my quality of life's gone up. So those are 2 big key things. But the one thing missing now is accountability. The agents, we were even just talking about it a second ago, they laugh about how I used to when I had more time. I don't know that I really even had more time, but I was more, because we didn't have as many agents, it was easier for me to hold them all accountable. They would always call them pop quizzes. So like, we never knew when it was coming, but we always knew at some point in time, Tara was going to be like, what happened to that one deal I sent you the other day on such and such street? And they're like, you knew you had to be ready for it. And we're missing that right now on our team, and that's why we've hired a sales manager or an agent on our team's kind of taken over that role. But a lot of it is holding the agents accountable. And I think I was able to do it in a way where they knew they had goals, and they knew I wanted to help them achieve those goals. So it wasn't accountability as far as to get them in trouble, but more or less, to make sure, because even they were like, oh yeah, I'm so glad you asked me about that, because I forgot, and I told them I'd call them back in a couple of weeks, and I need to do that. So anyway, so Realtor.com accountability, and then when it went up to the 300 is when we started offering like a guaranteed sold program, which just in our market nobody was, and still I don't think anybody's doing that. So it just allowed us to sort of start separating ourselves from other people, just trying to find that differentiator between us and others, because we all know the public sees us as all the same. So that was the first thing that we did that really started making us feel and look different than other people.
Sarah, one question, because I want you to get into it, and Jason asked the question about profitability. I don't know if you can speak to your profitability back in those early days, but what are your targets now? I know the answer to it, but what are your targets now, being out of production, fully leveraged model versus what it was back in the days where you were selling homes?
Right. I would say back in the beginning, I really didn't even know what. I just knew I needed to make sure I had money in the bank, but I didn't really have any certain goals as far as profitability. But when we were at RE/MAX, that's the other good thing, and there was probably better ways to do it. We just didn't know. But when we were there, it was hard for me to track my numbers because, like with our team, the check would go to RE/MAX, and they would just pay me my cut and pay the agents their cut. So my gross commissions were always a lot lower because it didn't include the agent split. So it was always hard for me to try to figure out, am I doing things right or wrong? But now as I go out of production more, is we're trying to keep about for me a 30% growth or a profit after all of our expenses, but before taxes. Whatever that's called. Net profit before tax, is that right?
Yeah, and you actually run better than that. It's always lumpy when we look at it on a monthly basis, but typically you run about 30%, and your gross margins, I'm trying to look at your year-to-date. So the economic model is the important thing, and on a gross margin basis, you're at about low 60s, fully leveraged, which is really where you want to hit, and then you're at about through September anyway, about 33% net profit, and that's not adding back some things that go right to you and Nick. So there's right on top of that. So the P&L that we review actually has some add backs in it to gross that up. So it's probably mid-30s, and that's the model that we designed. With completely out of production as you scale, margins higher than that are possible as you're smaller, and it probably was that way for you. You probably hit, 45, 50, 60% net profit when you were slinging houses.
Right.
So, all right, really good. All right, what's next, Stacey?
Tara, what commission structure do you follow? Do you follow the REBS kind of commission structure? What do you follow?
Okay, so that's another spot where we don't follow the norm. So I would say first, please consult with your Rebs coach before you make any changes. But for us, it doesn't matter where the lead comes from. Everybody, whatever split they're on, that's what they get. Because with our team, anytime anyone's joined, it's always been expected that at least 50% of their business will come from Sphere or their own legwork of open houses or whatever. So to me, at that point, then it's just, it's an average. So I didn't feel like keeping up with where it came from and getting into arguments. I mean, that's the way it's probably not like that, but that's the way I pictured it in my head. So right now with our newer agents, when they join our team, usually they're brand new. They don't have any experience. So with our company, we take 10% off the top, and then we pay 35% out on the listing side, and then we pay out 45% on the buyer side. And then we have a career ladder that we're in the process of putting in, but where it'll allow them as a age on our team and their production numbers grow, where they can scale that and make more money, and also get to a point where we, like I mentioned earlier, where we have the agent where we hire them an assistant that's an agent that's kind of a mentor program, and where they're also getting paid commission by that agent too. So
yeah, and let me make a note on that. So what I guard in the economic model is the gross margin number. That's the number that Tara knows that she can only afford to pay out X percent of the 100% dollar. So the $10,000 commission check comes in, on average, Tara knows that she wants to keep $6,500 of it. And so she's listing heavy at 35 and 45. She roughly gets to, I just calculated your numbers. You're at 63% gross margin through September. So the kiss of death is when it's switched. There are way more teams that have a 37% gross margin than 63% in our industry. So Reb's economic model or not, the economic model calls for a wise decision around your splits. And so Tara made that before she started with us. So where I get pissed off with our industry is when these teams, are I know a team that'll do more than 1,000 units this year, and their profit margins are single digits, it's a different model. It's just different than we're doing here. The gross margins in that model are about 25%. So you have very little margin to be able to invest back in your agents and to be able to pay the government and make profit. So we follow a very specific economic model, and Tara's split structure is in line with that. There are teams in Real Estate B School that offer two levels, 25 or 40. It's either we gave it to you or you brought it to us. And so it doesn't have to be complicated to be right. So that's a point I want to make, is that just make sure when you fully build this thing, it gives you the gross margin you need to run a sustainable, profitable business. All right, what else?
Tara, as far as lead gen today, do you farm? Do you have a buyer lead gen platform? And what kind of brings in your leads now?
So one of the things we do, which is where it's sort of an Achilles heel too, but in real estate there's like a gazillion different platforms and programs, and one thing does one thing really well, but then it doesn't do other stuff. So anyway, so hopefully one day we'll be able to condense all that. But we use Top Producer for like all of our transaction management, as far as action plans and what to do and all that sort of stuff. As far as our buyer platform, we have Commissions Inc. is who we use. I'm definitely not married to them. I feel like that's one of our rocks, is to see if we should be switched to someone else. I just know it's a pain. And then, we have our seller website is the Real Launch site. That's $40 a month or whatever. And it does really well for what we spend on it. And a lot of probably at least over half our business is Sphere and past clients, reaching out to those people. But other than that, we do radio advertising, and so that's our big listing lead generator. And Zillow. Realtor.com used to be our best, but something happened. I don't know what I did, but I guess I didn't renew my contract with them, so we haven't had Realtor.com leads in like 6 months. So I may need to work on that. But then I think, we don't need more leads. We just need to work what we've got better. And what else do we do? That's all the main stuff.
How do you get your agents to do such a high Sphere volume? Are they all running do you run 60 touch, and are they running like calls quarterly, or how do you get your agents to have such high Sphere business?
Well, we don't have anything really super organized. That's a goal for us. But like I just met with one of the agents a second ago, and she wants us to. We have BombBomb, and not that everybody uses it the way they should, but is she wants us to print off. We're thinking, let's go back. If they've been here long enough, I don't know what the average, maybe 3 to 5 years people stay in a home. So let's go back to your 5 years ago and print off a list. And it's like everything else. If you don't make it a priority, you just do it when you have time, it'll never happen. So her goal is to text at least 10 people a week and just reach out to them and see how they're doing, or to send like a bomb video. She's also set up like a happy birthday bomb video that's cute, but it's generic. So she sends that out to people, because with bomb you can set it up where they're on a schedule, so you could do them. You could sit down and do them all a month ahead of time or whatever, and put one for them to go out. We have 3 client appreciation events each year. And Valentine's Day we do like chocolate and candy. In the spring or fall we do like a pumpkin giveaway, and then at Thanksgiving we give away pie or wine. So even if they don't come to it, we're emailing them about it, we're sending them a postcard, we're calling them, texting them, Facebook invite, so at least they're getting touched. And usually each time, even if people don't come, they'll text and say, hey, sorry I can't come, but my neighbor said she's looking at buying a house. Here's her number. You guys should call her. So I think a lot of times it's just people will do more for you. They forget it. We think everybody remembers me, but they forget about us if we're not staying in front of them.
And let me ask a question here real quick. Bomb is a complete no-brainer, and the challenge is to get your agents to use it. So I just posted a link. I don't think it's any special pricing. You just get some free goodies with our link there. That's one of those things that you could use it a dozen places in your business, and it'll be the highest return thing you do in your business.
Right.
Real quick, Real Launch is the name of the site. It's Ben Kinney built that site. It's a single-page website. There's nothing special about it, and it works. Mm-hmm. I used it probably for 3 or 4 years. I complicated it to where it doesn't need to be as complicated as I made it. So that's that one. Julie, definition of gross margin is GCI, top line. What you pay your agents is your cost of sales. We can complicate it a little bit more than that, but generally it's what you pay your agents. What's left over is gross margin. So anytime you're talking to anyone that's bragging about their business, you want to find out if they're running closer to a brokerage type business or a team. The best teams are doing 70% gross margin, so they have a lot of dollars left to be able to invest back into the team and their agents. And the worst are probably running 20, 25, 30%, where that's all the dollars you have after you pay your agents to invest into physical space, into lead generation, into marketing and advertising. So that is that. So I just want to get that one done. Stacey, you could just chime in too if you.
Tara, do you want to discuss some of your best practices on finding agents?
Oh, what is that? Well, we do use like the Wise Hire, or we use John Pike. I think was sort of where some of this stuff started, but and then the J with Wise Hire. So using that as a tool, it's definitely not full 100% foolproof, but it kind of gives you a little insight to their personality. I've also learned on that thing, because it shows you their motivators. If their motivator is not the economic, because the agents on our team that are not doing as well as the others, when I go back and look at that, their economic is not their driving force. So now I'm just like, that's I'm going to just not even talk to them again after that. And then what else? Chris is in here with me.
On there. Got a pretty good D on that, on the motivators.
Oh yeah.
On their disc profile.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, we leave that part, the disc, all that up to the Wise Hire, but the economic, I think, is the biggest thing. Mm-hmm. Was it recruiting existing agents or new agents, or both, I guess?
Kind of both. I mean, if you have, a process or what you do to find agents.
Yeah.
So mostly Wise Hire, posting. Right. And do you put stuff on Facebook as well when you have a need, just post?
Right. Yeah. And that's actually something I need to do that today. But is, a lot of existing agents, that's another thing that we do. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of teams I know that will absolutely will not hire an existing agent no matter what. And that's another one of our rules that just we've had it work successfully, doing it that way and not doing it that way, and with brand new agents. So to me, I'm more interested in the person, regardless if they have or have not had real estate experience. But I feel like a lot of existing agents will look to make a move towards the end of the year or beginning of the year. So running maybe some Facebook ads where you can go in there and you can do it all yourself, where you can target people in your area that have like real estate agent or realtor as in their about me part, and target those people with some sponsored ads. And it's a couple bucks a day or however much you want to spend. Then I think that's worked well for us in the past. And a lot of the people on our team that are the best came from just referrals from people, either within the team or, hey, you should go talk to. But so I think just letting people know that you're always looking for talented people. That's one thing we've done, even when we're not looking, we're always looking. You never want to pass up to me somebody that could be a great asset to your team. Even on the admin side, like I said, we hired an operations person. We didn't need it. We weren't looking for it. Didn't even know what it did, but just knew that this person could really add value. So we didn't want to pass it up.
Yeah, awesome. There's a couple questions around agents and the cadence and what's expected. And some of it may be over the years, what you've done with accountability and structure and all of that. Can you talk to that a little bit?
Well, I feel like that's one of our weaknesses right now. But back in the day, we all know if you don't call somebody back within 5 minutes, it's a million times harder. So, with us, it's all about just being very responsive quickly. I think I don't think we're too bad on that end. I think we're bad at just if we didn't get a hold of them or it didn't work out, like just that, and I think there was even studies that show how many people will drop off after the first call, the second call there, and we're totally those agents too, where we just fizzle out. So that's a big area for improvement for us. And like Lars was looking the other day, we have dialogue tech, where you track our phone numbers, and it's amazing how many phone numbers or phone calls coming in to the business where people are raising their hand. They want information, and we're I think over 50% of them were not even answered. So after my head blew off, Lord's like, this is a good opportunity though. This look at how much opportunity is already here. All we got to do is capitalize on it. So I think
Jason, his eyes lit up when he saw that.
Yeah. Yeah, he said he knew there was a sinking hole, but he said he didn't know it was a Titanic, That was it.
And that's one thing, if everyone really, the whole the lead management around the lead handling around different lead sources, if you could put that into place early in your progression as a team, Tara probably could have an additional $1 million in the bank, and I could probably have an additional $1 million in the bank if we never took our eye off of that.
Right.
And we're busy, we're not worried. So we're selling homes ourselves. We're trying to help agents sell homes. We're trying to go to conferences and learn. And, the basic bits of the business seem to slip.
Right.
But that's just an opportunity for everybody.
That's definitely our big focus this year. It's really, we hear it all the time, but it's so true. A lot of us don't need more leads. We just need to do more or better with the ones we have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And for Tara's team in particular, and you can speak to it, and Sandy asked a question about it, the challenge between bringing on new agents on and how it affects current agents. Can you speak a little bit about positively and negatively? Because now when Tara brings on a new agent, they have different expectations than the person selling 100 units that's 57% SOI, and vastly different splits. So
Right.
Tara takes 40% margin on that 100-unit agent, and that 100-unit agent is thoroughly happy to be on the team, and it's a different structure on the new agent. But talk to the structure and accountability of the newer agents and how there's a cultural clash and how you deal with it.
Right. Well, and that's when we first even started a team, it was going to be me and this agent named Mandy that's still on our team. And then that's about the time that my husband decided he was going to throw his hat in the ring. Or, hey, let's go get his license too. So when I called her and said, hey, because she said, I'm pretty sure I've decided, yes, I want to be on your team. I said, well, I just want to tell you one thing before we do anything is my husband's going to be on our team too. And her first question was, well, how's that going to work? How? Because, most you just think logically, well, they're going to take, because I was still in production. She said, how is that going to work with leads? And I told her, I promise I would never, favor anybody. And so in our market at that time, the average price was probably about $185,000 in the downturn. The first time, 60 days later, I gave her a $600,000 buyer lead. I'm like, okay, are we good? And she's like, yeah, and it's just never been an issue with us. But then as soon as we added our first agent, that was her next question. Okay, how's this going to work now? But she's my best example because she has seen every time we add somebody to our team, especially the better they are, her production numbers go up too, because all of a sudden people start telling her, oh man, I see your signs all over such and such neighborhood. And she's thinking, well, I don't even have any listings over there, but somebody else on our team does. So it just starts to help everybody. So I think that's the thing you just have to kind of keep telling the agents and reminding them of that, because they'll forget is that if you hire the right people, if everybody does well, the more each person succeeds individually on the team, it's a win for everybody. But they did. It's like anything else. They're going to forget that. So as you add people, you have to remind them of that. And then when they start to see it happen and their numbers going up, then they'll buy into it. Even though they're still going to forget, you'll have to remind them of that.
And one thing, and I may hold you for a couple minutes late if you can spare it. Looking into your business, it seems like, as we joke with Tara, that when she gets frustrated and people aren't doing what they're supposed to do, and she'll have them like, everyone rearrange your desk today, or like, I need to clean this area out, or as entrepreneurs, we want to have control for whatever reason, like jacked up childhood or whatever. We want to have control of something, and sometimes just to clean our desk gives us that control. I have the feeling that along the years, you've brought that sort of hard charging, like never satisfied, and you've always had fun, and they felt like family.
Right.
How do you do that systematically? Because I didn't do that very well. People on my team always criticize me for being too numbers focused. It seems like you don't care about us. How do you manage the hard charging growth with, let's make this fun, let's have a contest, let's do this benefit together? Like, kind of talk about those two things. I think it's interesting how you've done that really, really well.
Well, I don't know the answer to that, but I'll give it my best shot. I think part of it, like you said, I mean, the part of the jacked up childhood is, as a kid, if I came home and told my mom I made a 99% on my algebra test, the first thing she says, well, what'd you miss? And it was like, oh, okay. And then, but I'm glad she did that, because it was like, it just, for me, no matter how successful we become, there always feels like there's so much more we could do to be better. And so I think with our agents on our team is that I think they see that I just want things to be better for them. And in fact, some of our biggest conflicts on the team, a lot of times it's like that I feel like I want it more for them than sometimes they do for themselves. And so that's where the conflict sometimes comes in. But I think I don't really know how it happened, but I think over like the progression of the years is there's agents on our team that their life is completely different now than what it was before. Not just from a money perspective, but I mean, like one of the agents, Mandy, and her husband, he had gotten laid off from his job and was struggling to find work because the economy was bad. But she just kept doing so well. It finally came to a point where he's like, well, heck, I guess I don't even need to. And in fact, if I do stay home, I can help support her career. And then, then now I have to have 2 little boys that he gets to spend time with at home. And so I don't know. I think maybe Christy can answer this better, but I think they see that I just want good things for them. And I know with me pushing myself, how that's helped me. And I think we all, whether it's real estate or losing weight, everybody needs an accountability partner. So someone to help push them and that's kind of why I think people join a team versus doing it on their own. Is nobody's asking you if you've been to the office that day or how many deals that you have closed, or people get into real estate because they want to sort of be in their own business, but at the same time we all just as humans, most of us need that little encouragement or that accountability, or know that somebody's paying attention to them.
Yeah.
Well, and I think what's important is to
Get in there, Christy.
All right, Kristen.
The other pretty blonde on the team.
Yeah.
I think what's important to remember is that we hire for that.
Mm-hmm.
We ask you, are you driven? Do you push yourself? And if they're not that, they don't have that person, and will you kill what you eat?
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't have that personality and that mindset, they're gonna hate it on our team. And I make that extremely clear when we're interviewing them. And so when they come in here, they're people that thrive on that.
Yeah.
Because that makes you have to hire the right people for your culture. And this culture is with people that we are so competitive, and not in a cutthroat way. There's not anyone cutthroat on this team. So it's very hard to make it on this team because you have to have those two qualities.
Yeah, it's like that book, John Gordon, Shark and the Goldfish.
Yes, yeah.
That's exactly right.
If you're surrounded by goldfish, you can get away with goldfish when you're first couple buyer agents, because you can actually feed them, and it's not sustainable. It creates this culture of entitlement. And so just look to surround yourself with sharks that are competitive. Even on the admin side, you want people that are going to push each other.
Mm-hmm.
So
We've talked about that. That's so true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really, really. Just because you're an SC personality doesn't mean you can't be a shark.
Yeah.
And really getting everyone on board, that's that like-minded culture. All right, Tara, one last thing that you can share with everyone listening, and it's been an awesome call. What's the one thing you could give advice on from someone who's in that 50 to 100 transactions to get to the hundreds of transactions where they actually get the time and money freedom?
Oh gosh. So that's that's like an hour answer, but I don't know. I guess going from 50 to 100 to the time freedom. I mean, as unsexy of an answer it is, it goes back to that thing is it's just not going to happen overnight. I mean, I think we all want instant gratification. It's just, figure out what steps, you need to do, and put some time frames on there for goals to hit them by. But just realizing, I'm still doing a few deals here and there, but this has been since 2010. So next year will be our 9th year as a team. So, it's not going to happen overnight. But I think just setting goals and setting yourself I always tell people to some degree I feel like we're lucky, but I feel like the word lucky means when preparation meets opportunity. So, when there's a market shift, there's going to be a ton of opportunity at that point in time too. So just getting yourself prepared and for when those things come around, not digging. There's agents here that have been in business for 30 years, and when the market changed, they dug their heels in the sand, like, well, this is the way we do business, and now they're gone. It's like you have to be willing to sort of adapt, but you got to get yourself prepared for that, for those changes and the things that you can't control. But there's opportunity, whether the market's good or bad, there's lots of opportunity there. You just have to shift your focus.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I put a quote from you. You don't have to go from 0 to 500 in 1 year. Rome wasn't built in a day. This is a journey, not a destination. Building a real estate business is like losing weight. There are no real shortcuts. You have to do the work, and it takes time. Tara Limbird.
There's our 2018 quote.
There you go.
We'll put Tara with the kiss in the pig.
Yeah.
That's right. I'm pretty sure I stole most of that material. But,
yeah. Guys, I appreciate it. You're doing an awesome job. You really are an inspiration, just putting one foot in front of the other. It's never as pretty as we'd like it to be. And we're
still all sorts of jacked up,
I'm sure you have people clean out their desks like once a week over there just to keep.
Even Christy now wants to change everybody's desk, so it's rubbing off.
That's true.
You're affecting her. I see your gratitude box back there. I think gratitude's a big part of it too.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I love it.
And along the way, everyone, just be grateful for our toughest days would be blessings to most of the world, and just not taking this overly seriously.
Sure.
And not having to do it in 1 year. I think that's the biggest curse that we suffer is we compare ourselves to other people. And a lot of times just comparing your insides to their outsides. You know, I could hear a guy doing 1,000 deals a year and get jealous, or, you know, or just use it as inspiration and reach out to him from abundance and say, hey, what can I learn from this guy? You know, and so, but just know the right questions to ask and know that it's a business and you're building something with sustainability. So we love you guys. Thank you so much. And we'll talk to you guys soon.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Yes.